Hi there. Welcome to Home Wizards. I'm Cindy Dole.
Hey, I'm Eric Stromer.
And we love to improve your home and improve your life. And that means making that kitchen feel like you have an instant remodel without spending the big bucks.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, a brand new kitchen these days can go anywhere from $12,000 to $70,000 to $80,000 depending on what you're doing.
Yeah. And don't you feel like...
So what's a quick way to make a transformation instead of spending all that dough?
Well, the bulk of the price tag comes from cabinetry.
Yeah, it
It's not just appliances, it's the cabinets.
I get them as a contractor, $175 a linear foot. People are charging $250, $300, $350 depending on the style of the cabinetry, a linear foot. So imagine every linear foot of your cabinetry, that's the cost of it, right?
You could be up to like $50,000 in cabinets.
Easy.
For a nice custom,
And then you got to finish them.
Right.
That's just for the build and the boxes, right? And the doors. So it can get really pricey.
So how about if we get a personal perspective from a guy who has done this for years? Let's talk about repainting.
Wait, is there a guest coming today?
It's Eric Stromer.
Oh, me?
So you've done this,
God.
and help us get a little smarter when it comes to kitchen cabinetry and painting them to make them look like they're fancy schmancy.
You cannot imagine the amount of cabinets I've painted. And I'll tell you, it's amazing and daunting if you don't know what you're doing. There's a couple of quick things I want to talk to you about.
Sure.
Number one, just changing the color to some contemporary tone that you see out there in the magazines now is going to make your kitchen look and feel completely new. And then throw some hardware on top of that. Forget about even hinges. Change the hinges. Oh, you've saved yourself $30,000, $40,000.
That's just crazy.
You got a crazy remodel for just a couple of thousand, right?
Wow.
So what you need to do is this. You have to think about creating a paint station and a prep station when you do kitchen cabinetry. So basically what's going to happen is you're going to, kick the entire family out of the house. They're going to be out of that
It's
room.
movie time.
It's time really for you guys to know that you're going to be eating out like you and Bill did when you guys did your kitchen.
But this is going to take, maybe a few days to do this?
This is going to take a good week, I think, if you do it right.
As opposed to months. This is going to be a week.
That's exactly right. Let's just say we're going to take a week, okay?
And so plan on
You're going to take all your pots out. You're going to put them off to the side in the garage. Take that opportunity to pare through stuff, know what you want, what you don't anymore. You're going to take the glasses out. You're going to take food out, put it in boxes, label everything, get them out of your way. If you put them in the garage, make sure they're taped up because you don't want the rodents to get to your food while you're redoing the kitchen, right? So all that stuff's a consideration. Then you're going to probably have shelving paper that's in there from 300 years ago. So you're going to want to try and peel all that stuff off, right? You're also going to want to take existing hardware. So at a certain point, you're going to disassemble these cabinets. You're going to pull the doors off. When you do that, unless you're going to replace the hinges, it's imperative that you save them and you tape them along with the handle and screws to the door.
Like to the back of the door.
With blue tape, labeling it cabinet number 1. You write that on a piece of tape, put it on the cabinet, upper left side of the cabinet, in the back. Cabinet number 1 hardware. You tape that in a baggie on that door. If you don't do that, you're dead in the water. Because then when you try and put all the stuff back, you're going to spend days trying to find hinges that fit and work. So please do that. If you're going to replace handles and hinges, this is the time to do that. So you're going to take the handles and hinges, you're going to count the number that you need, you're going to count the hinges, you're going to count and make sure that the screw configuration is going to be exactly the same.
Like, is it a single hole or is it 2 holes?
There you go, exactly. And if you're going to try and replace from a double to a single pull, then you're going to have to fill in the hole on that cabinet before you paint it.
Right.
These are all the things you have to research at first. Also, screw lengths. To get the screw through the back of the door into the knob, you want to make sure those all match and are the same length. So don't just take everything off and put it all in a pile in one area. Make sure that you assign each set of hinges and knobs and pulls to that particular item that we're talking about, okay? So you've done that, right? Now you've got to take those cabinet doors off. You've unscrewed them from the back with a Phillips head screwdriver, taken them all off, taped everything together. Put them in the garage near your workstation or outside, wherever you're going to do your work. You're going to have your frames now, your boxes. what you're going to do is get a degreaser like TSP, and you're going to go through and clean the years of grime and bacon grease and handprints and fingerprints.
Imagine it. I mean, because you have been just sitting there cooking and cooking, and
Exactly.
And all over time, that really is going to create this gunky layer that you can't just paint
You
directly
can't,
on,
no,
right?
because it'll peel off in sheets and you'll go crazy.
And it's gross.
And it looks terrible, too, by
And it's
the
probably
way.
smelly.
Well, not only that, it's filled with delicious bacon grease from 20 years ago.
So you're going to do this outside.
So you're gonna do the frames on the inside of the house after you've pulled all the adhesive paper
Okay.
off, the shelving paper off the inside of the cabinets. And if there's a lot of sticky, tacky, adhesive feeling to where the paper was, you want to get an adhesive remover, which is going to want you to have a respirator, because that stuff gets crazy when you've got your head in a cabinet and these fumes are coming up. It's usually like acetone or something like that. You can get a little nutty. So make sure you've got a can respirator, which you're going to need for painting anyway. And those just are purchased at any home improvement store. You put them over your whole face, and there's 2 cans on either side that are activated.
It looks kind of serious.
Looks like Darth Vader. Right? And you can do a lot of, I am your father. Luke, I am your father. It works great. Okay, so you've got the
But it's all
math.
about the preparation, isn't
Oh
it?
my goodness! The preparation is everything. The paint is literally the
That's
very,
nothing.
very last little nothing.
So we've
that-
taken the hardware off. We're taking all the pieces apart.
Yeah.
We've gotten the grease out. The
Yeah.
wall. The
Everything's dry. Now you're going to your 100 grit sandpaper.
Oh.
Okay? You're going to take a little sanding block. They sell them in sponges at the store, or you can wrap a piece of 100 grit paper around a little wood block, and you're going to sand by hand all the little surfaces that are facing out into the kitchen. You don't have to do the interior where the drawers close, but just the faces.
And why are we doing this?
Because you got to get it ready to paint. and
Because
put
otherwise,
primer
again,
on.
the paint
Otherwise,
won't
it won't
stick.
stick, right? And also, if are you painting the inside of the cabinets? If you are, that means you are climbing inside and sanding all those little areas.
That's a lot of
The
work.
whole thing. You're doing the doors on the outside. You're doing the inside with the sanding block. And before I go on, outside, you're creating a little workstation area where you're laying like a couple of 2x4s across some sawhorses, and you're able to set these cabinet doors face down on those so you can work in a nice work area.
Okay.
It's literally like a factory, a station that you'll be moving doors in and out as you paint them and prep them.
And the kind of paint we're going to use will be.
Well, I'll get into that when we come back from the break.
Okay, Eric Stromer, Cindy Dole. You're listening to Home Wizards. We're helping you figure out a way to paint your kitchen cabinets. Because why? Well, we don't necessarily have
Saves
the
you
money.
thousands of dollars
We don't have the
on a
money for a remodel, but
No.
it's going to look like you've got brand new spanking, great cabinets. Eric
know it.
Stromer, Cindy Dole. Keep it here on Home Wizards. And welcome back. You're listening to Home Wizards. I'm Cindy Dole.
And I'm Eric Stromer.
And we love to improve your home and improve your life. And we're just getting started in terms of painting your kitchen cabinets. Now, for instance, if someone is living in a condo or an apartment,
Yeah.
you can do this yourself too.
Oh, heck yeah.
You know what
you
I'm
can.
saying?
Yeah.
And or it's your home. I mean, the whole idea is kitchen cabinetry. That is probably the biggest price tag in a kitchen remodel.
Yeah, there's no question, and it's also the biggest blunder place if you do it wrong. So if I really recommend that you try to not brush paint on cabinets. You want to spray them. So let me continue.
Okay, so but let's
Yeah.
go back to the preparation, because really the preparation, I mean, you were getting all into the details of it.
I get
you
crazy
take them
about prep,
apart.
yeah.
You're taking all the hardware, and a good tip how we're going to tape the nuts and bolts and the pieces of each
Exactly.
door to the back of the door,
That's
to the
right.
back of the drawer,
Right.
to whatever.
Yeah.
And now we've just taken all those parts, the fronts, away and put them in the garage or
Yeah,
somewhere,
and then
right?
keep in mind, at some point you're going to have to take the tape off that door and separate the bag of parts from the door. So you want to make sure that you've written somewhere in pencil, or when you do take the tape off to paint, that you know that number 1 door is being painted now, and I know that this is number 1 door that matches with my correlating bag of parts that go to number 1 door. Do you know what I mean?
You almost need like a note taker.
You got to have a note. You got to have
Someone-
a court stenotypist.
Exactly,
you know?
a court reporter,
Exactly.
with a clipboard and
That's
a
it.
Excel spreadsheet.
So basically, what you're doing is you're creating a workstation. You've sanded everything with 100 grit sandpaper. You've used an orbital sander on your cabinet doors outside. side.
And you like the ones that are not necessarily plug-in, right? You can get like a battery
You
operated
can,
one.
either way. If you have an old one with a plug, great. If you don't, it's even easier because then you're not always going back over your cord.
Because you're inside the cabinet.
You're everywhere. This thing is, you got to be like a nimble little ninja when you're doing cabinetry, right?
So let's talk about what are some of the supplies that we need. That we need the orbiter. We can rent that or buy that.
You can rent or buy it, and
then
they're
what
not
else
that
do we need?
expensive. If you're going to do your kitchen cabinets, I recommend buying something probably around $65-$70 that's going to have the ability to get your sandpaper on rapidly and remove it. It's usually a Velcro fastening system, and they sell sandpaper that correlates to your particular brand of sander, so make sure that you do get the right kind of paper.
And the right kind you like again is what?
You're starting with 225. You're starting with 100, and you're going up to 225.
And
now,
why is
100
that?
grit is more grit, and then as you
Oh.
go up in numbers, up to 225, it's very smooth, right?
That seems counterintuitive.
Well, I'll tell you why.
Why?
Well, because as you're going and sanding, you're breaking down the particles that are on the cabinet before you paint, so that your primer will stick to that. And then after you've sprayed 2 coats of primer on your cabinets and your frames, then you're going to want to sand in between coats of primer and in between coats of paint with a very smooth sandpaper, so that it becomes like that auto body finish. And the only way it becomes that is by having zero roughness to those layers of primer and paint that gives you that
Got it.
smooth purchase for the next coat to go on.
So again, before the paint, because I mean, some folks are just maybe joining us. We're looking at our existing cabinets.
Yeah.
We're taking the doors and the hinges off.
That's right.
We're taking the drawers out.
Yep.
We're getting all the grease out by
Degreasing,
using,
right, with TSP.
and then we're taking whatever paper might be there as a
Sticky
liner.
interior paper, the liner that
And
you
just
pull off.
scraping
and
that off?
And no, you can usually pull it off. If you can't, then you can use a little like a paint scraper,
Okay.
right, or a spackle knife, anything like that. Peel it off. There's going to be old adhesive that's gross and sticky. You're going to want to then use an adhesive remover like Goof Off, and put that on a rag and wipe all that adhesive off. Let that dry. Once that's done, then you start sanding.
Okay, that's
using 100 grit paper.
So we're
okay?
we're easily into this a couple of days.
You're
This
you're
whole-
easily now at day 2.
Yeah, like a whole weekend
A
of
whole
just
day
this.
has just happened by pulling the drawers out, pulling the hardware off,
And putting your pots
labeling
and
everything.
pans and
yeah,
things
that's one
away.
day.
Uh-huh.
Day 2, you're getting into your sanding. You've probably, hopefully, you've done your TSP wash the first day. Day 2, you're getting into your sanding. That sanding's going to take you 2 to 3 days.
And for the sanding, do we wear eye protection?
I would like you to wear glasses, and I'd
Yeah.
like you to wear you can wear a paper mask when you're sanding now, because there's nothing that's going to be toxic unless you're concerned that paint is from before like 1975, 76. There may be some lead in it, and then you're going to want to definitely use cans, like I was talking about, respirator
The Darth
cans.
Vader things.
The Darth Vader,
and you can
right.
get those at the big box stores,
You can get
right?
those at the big box store, and then you're going to want to tape your vents with plastic in your kitchen area, anywhere near, and put big sheets of plastic on the doorways, right? So that you have to use I like to do a double shower curtain of plastic on the front and the back of the door jamb,
Right.
so that you have to go through 2 separate plastic
And that's
barriers.
so important because that's going to keep all the junk from getting throughout the house.
And if you don't tape the registers where your heating and air come
it's gonna
out,
get
it's
into
going to
the-
get into that, and then
Terrible.
continue to push that through the house. So anytime you're having painting done, if the painters don't do that,
Think
then
air
you got to
circulation.
really be careful.
And what kind of plastic do you like?
I like the thicker mill plastic. Don't get the super thin cheap stuff, because you can't. It's like a dry cleaning
Yeah,
bag. You can't separate it, and
Yeah.
it won't hang freely. It'll start to cling.
And you get trapped in there.
And then you're like a fly in fly paper, and you
can't get out.
help me. Yeah, it's that feeling, right? So the thicker plastic, and they sell it in big sheets. It's called Visqueen. It's big sheets and rolls of plastic that you can just cut off with a single edge razor
It's like as
blade.
thick as a baggie, I bet, right?
Yeah,
Or thicker,
that's
maybe.
about it. Yeah, it's about like a baggie. Good analogy. And then you tape that with blue tape everywhere, and you just literally create barriers, trying to keep the paint, sanding, and the spray,
the debris from
contained within this chamber that is now your kitchen. Don't forget, you've also put tape on the floor. If it's a tile or wood floor, you got to put red rosin paper, which is this roll of red paper that they sell at the big box stores. You're going to want to roll that out and tape it, everywhere, so the entire floor is covered and all your countertops.
And why
are
is
covered.
that? I mean,
because
besides
you're
the
going to have
mess.
a ton of overspray
Oh, that's for the
from the
painting.
painting,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
But in terms of just the degreasing and the sanding, you still want our floor protected.
I think for the degreasing, it's probably easier if the floor is not protected, if
Oh,
it's
okay.
tile, because then you can just clean it up with
All
a
right.
sponge.
All right. So now we've done all of that
Right.
prep stuff
And everything's
virtually.
dry. Now you've put your paper down on the floor, and
And what do you mean by dry?
because from using the
You've
TSP, right?
okay, right, it's dry, and you've
Before
sanded.
Now you've washed it down. You've then sanded. Now it's dry and ready to go, right? So now and you've also taken a tack cloth after you've sanded that with that 100 grit paper, and you're wiping off all the additional sawdust that has come off of the cabinet after sanding, and that's both inside and out. Tack cloth is like sticky, sticky
like
cheesecloth that has
Uh-huh.
adhesive
Yeah,
on it,
yeah.
and then you pull all the excess sandy, dusty particles off. Right now, it's
Okay.
perfectly clean and ready to receive primer. Now, let me tell you quickly. You want to get familiar with a paint sprayer, and you can rent these for about $60 a day. And what they do is they're called HVLP. V is in Victor, L is in Last, P is in Peter, right?
And why do we need this?
Because it's a high volume, low pressure canister. It's the same kind of thing that they use for fine finishes on cars and on furniture. And what it does is it gives you a ton of pressure, but a very little amount of volume of paint. So it's like it's just gently spraying.
Very focused.
And there's a real great dial-in setting on those things that you can use to get this perfect spray of paint that's not too much, not too little. It's beyond like a can of spray paint. It's like a perfect mist.
And that's
right?
way better than paintbrush.
Oh my goodness. Yeah,
Yeah.
because you'll see no brush marks, right? And
Wow.
and once the painting starts, and by the way, you're doing primer now. Once the primer starts, it's going to just go on and cover everything in white. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to dry. You're going to let it dry for maybe that night. The next day, come back over with 220 sandpaper, right? Lightly sand.
Oh, now we're sanding over the primer.
Again, and then another tack cloth, get the dust
Wow.
off. Guess what?
What?
One more coat of primer. So 2 coats of primer, right? So now you're ready to go after you've sanded the second coat of primer on everything, doors, frames,
You're
everything's been
very
sprayed.
thorough, by the way.
Oh,
I don't think
yeah.
that other people are doing this.
No, that's why my cabinets look so good.
And I bet you other people are usually using paintbrushes.
And that's why it looks horrible.
Terrible. And so we've done over multiple steps, and now we're ready
Now
for the
you're
paint.
ready to lay the paint
And what
on.
kind of paint are we using?
Well, now, good question.
High gloss?
See, it depends on the look that you want.
Okay.
You're going to want some gloss because kitchens are always going to have splatter from marinara sauce or whatever you're cooking. You want to be able to clean it off easily. So some sort of a gloss. Three coats, 4 coats of paint you're doing, right?
All with the
with
spray.
the HVLP gun. And then the people that rent you the gun are going to teach you how to clean it out every night by spraying clear water through it and make sure that it's clean for the next day's use.
I've never painted with the gun,
know.
and I think this sounds like a fun experiment.
It's fun and very time consuming and absolutely astoundingly
Pristine.
beautiful when it's
Yeah.
done, right? So after you've done your coats of paint, sanding in between each coat, probably 2 to 3 coats. Then you're ready to go. It's going to be perfect. You put your hardware back on. You put your knobs in. Cabinets are done.
And guess what happens now?
You sell your house for millions of dollars.
And the neighbor's saying, "Can you please come and paint my
And
cabinets?"
you say, "What am I, a cabinet painter? Get out of here. I got
well,
a job
now
to
we
go
are
to."
because you taught us.
That's right.
Anyway, we'll put these tips on the website, yourhomewizards.com. Eric Stromer, fabulous information. Cindy Dole, you're listening to Home Wizards.
History and no more